On July 29th, 2011, a little short film has been posted onto the internet involving puppets being mentored by a sketchbook about the subject of creativity and what can be done with this concept. That short film was Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, created by Becky Sloan and Joseph Pilling, who first met while studying at Kingston University in southwest London.
What's your favourite idea? Mine is being creative.
The short has since become one of the most viral videos of 2011 as it not only managed to reach millions of views, but would also expand into a web series consisting of 5 additional episodes, as well as a 6-episode TV series for Channel 4 released in 2022, among other experimental ventures involving the Dehimis branding. If you take a gander at the official Don't Hug Me I'm Scared YouTube channel, however, you might be able to notice that there was one little short film that was released prior to the first episode of the web series titled Bad Things That Could Happen. Why bring this up, you may ask? Well, to me personally, this short film that is unrelated to the far more popular Puppet series plays a bit of a prominent role in Don't Hug Me I'm Scared's history, more so than you might ever think. And that's basically the final piece that I'll be covering in the official finale to Rachel Reviews. With all that said, let's get this show on the road! Our story begins with This Is It Collective, an independent studio founded around the 2000s decade whose members consist of a background of design and animation, with the initial goal being to build upon the voices they developed for the past 4 years. Among the many ideas that they developed since the foundation of This Is It Collective would be a short film that played around with the concept of taking the most mundane scenarios in life and adding something that could potentially go wrong within. That film being Bad Things That Could Happen, released in November of 2010. Bad Things That Could Happen is about as self-explanatory as you can imagine, as it showcases the usual everyday scenarios only for them to go wrong. Simple as that and nothing more. All the while accompanied by background music that slowly gets more trippier as the imagery progressively goes south. What makes this short film so interesting and among the most unique I've ever seen definitely has to go with how it's presented on a visual scale. The props used were primarily made from painted cardboard alongside a variety of other materials and tools used to bring this piece to life, including fabric, party streamers, face paint, balloons, etc. It's a great showcase of what the studio likes to preferably work with. I feel like the most underappreciated detail within the film has to be the way each scene featured gets an equal amount of screen time, and thanks to the way Bad Things That Could Happen is paced. Never has there been a moment that made me go, boy, I sure do wish we got a bit more focus on blank, which is especially an impressive feat for a studio's debut project. If you want to know what my favorite parts of the film were, it definitely has to go to the sequences involving the sandwich and mousetrap, mainly for the costume work done on both the dancing bacteria and rat. I'd also like to give an honorable mention to the ending where the pencil went back to the paper to simply correct the spelling error. I thought that was a cute touch. Now you might be wondering on how this plays a role in the history of Don't Hug Me I'm Scared in any form or capacity. Well, I say that because the entire presentation of this short film draws parallels to what would eventually become the Dehimis we all come to know of. A cutesy, simplistic looking art piece that starts off as normal upon first glance, but at some point turns into complete chaos before mellowing out in the end. All the while featuring personified objects and a funky soundtrack that plagues each sequence of events. Not to mention the fact that some of the people that worked on Bad Things That Could Happen would later go on to work on Don't Hug Me I'm Scared, including the cinematographer for Bad Things, Hugo Donkin, who co-wrote the second episode of Dehimis as well as being the producer for episodes 3 to 6 of the web series. For the record, I'm not saying that Becky and Joe were inspired by or straight up copied elements from Bad Things That Could Happen. I more so view this as an unintentional coincidence between two different creative minds. No more, no less. We'll be back with more Bad Things That Could Happen after this. Bad Things That Could Happen is what can only be best described as not just a unique short film that plays around with its own spin on the mundane through creative imagery, but also as the patient zero of what would become the British puppet show we've all come to know and love, in terms of how its sequence of events are structured in execution, albeit not as violent and off the wall. As of the writing of the script, the short film is doing modestly at the moment, as it currently has a view count of around 14 million. Not bad for a first public upload. Plus, it is still available to watch for free on the official Dehimis YouTube channel, which I'll link below if you're ever curious on checking it out for yourself. And with that, this not only concludes this episode, but also the Rachel Review series as a whole. It took me way too long to find something else to cover as a way to wrap up this miniseries, but with where we are in the current state of the world right now, I feel like covering a short film about things going wrong no matter what feels like somewhat of an appropriate topic of discussion to cap things off. To those of you who have tuned into every episode up until this point, or just so happen to be binging the series out of sheer curiosity, I'd like to give you a simple thanks for witnessing the many pieces of media that I personally consider to be the most interesting to talk about in video form, regardless if your opinions on these source materials are more different than that of mine. Rachel Reviews has always been this little lab experiment to see how good I am expressing my personal opinions on whatever I feel like is worthy of discussion under a short amount of time. I've gotten a lot better at this whole analysis video thing since I first began Rachel Reviews, so in a way I thank myself for making this series happen in the first place. For your information, regular content will be back on the menu eventually once this finale goes public, but for now, I'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Security system takes control of Squidward's house and